And welcome to the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Royalty and the Josh Kirby team. Murphy Fair, we're not far from playoff time.
2 weeks away, and we'll be looking at brackets and everybody will be picking ball games then, won't they?
They definitely will, but there's still some very important region games to determine playoff seeding and even determine if you're going to get in the playoffs or not.
That's true, not just for first place, but people are going to want to know, are we in at all?
Right.
And we'll all find that out next week for sure.
I think high school, not that football is king, but it is king. I think high school football playoffs are the epitome of a tourney sport where people really follow that team, get behind that team, and you just have some great atmospheres throughout stadiums.
Weeks 1 through 1 through 11 are just position games, trying to figure out, are you going to be on that number 1 seed line or the number 4 seed line, or concentrating on basketball, whatever.
Our Huff and Puff Trucking game of the week was Jackson County at Smith County, and our KFC Taco Bell of Gordonsville and Smithville stats of the week. Smith County Murphy County willed their way to a 28-0 halftime lead, jumps up 35-0 in the third quarter, gets a running clock. Jackson County scores there late in the ball game, I think about 2 minutes and 24 seconds left, but the Owls win it 35-7 to lock up a home playoff berth, and they just really dominated statistically, 352 yards to 76. But when you look at the run game for Matt Dyer's club, 43 rushes, 318 yards, that has been the MO all season for the Owls.
No, Matt had to be awfully pleased and awfully proud of his football team. They basically dominated every aspect of the ball game, Terry. I got a chance to watch that one and was very impressed. I know Sean, help me out, on the other side, Jackson County.
Yeah, Loftus,
excuse me. It didn't have a great football team, and he knows that, but I thought his kids played hard, but they were just quite simply outmatched.
They definitely were. Let's go ahead and look at some highlights from that ball game where the Owls were playing. And Murphy, when you look at the Owls, they're using that running game. Bryce Curry crashing in here for Smith County's second touchdown. The Owls scored 3 touchdowns in a 3-minute, 24-second. And you're talking about a great pick. I mean, you're looking at a guy that kind of, battles with the left hand, gets in there, knocks it away, and then Peyton Hicks just being very patient right there after the Tristan Warsher interception. Owls score. They just did a good job. Then you get a Peyton Hicks block punt. It sets up another Owl scores 3 touchdowns in about 3.5 minutes. And Scotty Yeaman's got to be smiling because Jake White, his grandson, pulls in his first career touchdown. And, that makes me proud. I worked alongside, as you did, Scotty for many, many years.
Long time. When we interviewed Matt, what was it, last week, he said one of the things that he stresses game in and game out, even during practice sessions, is we are the better team. You are better than the guy you're going to line up against. And that positive attitude that the Owls took into that ball game, I thought really stood out. And it's a mental game as much as it is a physical game. And I think Coach Dyer certainly understands that. And his philosophy certainly showed in that contest.
Big region battle in Smithville, Upman playing at DeKalb County. And, you got to give Upman credit. They come on the road and get a big win for DeKalb County. Briz Trapp, 7 for 12, 185 yards. I mean, when you look at the average yards per completion there, Murphy, he had a big night. And of course, Isaac knows, as we say, week after week after week, just stat stuffer. I mean, 180 yards there. He accounts for offensively, either throwing, rushing, or receiving. John Ellis, 3 receptions, 96 yards, a touchdown. Kobe Barnes, 11 rushes for 39 yards. And I think that was a great measuring stick for Coach Trapp and his team, knowing, hey, we can battle against these teams we're going to see in the playoffs, because I guarantee you Upper will be just as good, I would say, as East Hamilton or Chattanooga Central or any of those teams they're going to be seeing in that first, second, or third round.
I agree. And I was kind of monitoring that game through a cell phone conversation with someone. And every time that I got another call, DeKalb County was right there with them all the time. I was really surprised to see that it was a 10-point ball game, because it was usually 3 or 4 points one way or the other until Upperman just kind of pulled away there at the end.
Let's look at the highlights of that game. And when you look at DeKalb, of course, that's a great place to watch a game from. Murphy, and the fact that you're right there on the field and you see a big completion there for the touchdown. You know, DeKalb had a couple possessions as they're showing the John Ellis 29-yard touchdown is Trapp on target right there. And when you look at Murphy, the fact that game had so many lead changes back and forth, Upperman's up 3 or 4 minutes to go in the ball game, and then very, very late, Upperman scores to make that the first 2-score advantage in the contest.
That's a great testament to Coach Trapp, too, because a former Tiger himself. But you and I are both old enough, we can remember when DeKalb County's football program was not very strong. Right. And ever since Steve has been in charge of that program, it's been very competitive. I can remember, a couple of years ago when they upset Tullahoma in the first or second round. Nobody, myself included, saw that one coming. And like Steve said, by playing strong competition during the regular season, it really does do a good job in preparing his team for the postseason.
I want to say they had the deepest run, maybe going to Marshall County in the quarterfinals and made it all the way to the semifinals that year. Let's go ahead and look at your Cannon County and community. Lions with a big win, Murphy, 54-30. And what's more impressive about that, every yard of offense came by the ground game. Ryan Perkins, a huge night, nearly 10 yards of rush, 27 carries for 251 yards, including 5 touchdowns. Dallas Roller, 10 rushes, 56 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dylan Taylor, an 84-yard interception return for a score. 54 points. That's putting some bulbs in the scoreboard, and Cannon County in a position now, Murphy, to possibly host a first-round playoff game.
I think that's probably going to happen. They've still got Giles County ahead of them. Giles County, obviously, the cream of the crop as far as that region goes. But Ryan Perkins has had just an incredible year. Just in 2 games alone, he's had nearly 700 yards rushing because he had 421 in that record breaker about 3 weeks ago.
Let's go ahead and look at the highlights that we've got from the Lions and the Vikings. And of course, Cannon County there in the burgundy and the white handoff there. And, you know, great vision on this run here by Cannon County. And then, you know, it looked like that the community had 3 or 4 people with an angle, but he just kind of used his speed and vision to get a touchdown, much as he did right there.
It's really neat in Woodbury when you go into town these days and people are talking about Cannon County football.
Right.
That has not happened very often in the 11 or 12 years that I've lived in Cannon County. And the community has really jumped behind these kids, their hard work. And Coach Daniel, what a great job he's done in lieu of all kinds of distractions, losing his father a couple of weeks ago. It just couldn't have happened to a better guy and a better group of kids for them to play as well as they are.
Well, we're a sports show, so we're going to tell you about the Smith County Lady Owls soccer. They got a region semifinal win over Independence Academy on Monday, 6-2. So they'll play in the region championship, and they'll be playing Merrill Hyde, and they'll be over at Crump Parish Park at the soccer field, Region 4 1A championship. And, you know, they have been the most successful team of all the sports at Smith County High School over the last 15 years.
It's amazing. I remember when I was living in Smith County, soccer was the farthest thing from almost everyone's mind, and they built a soccer facility over there at Crump Parish Park, and they've proven that they were very deserving of that. And huge congratulations go out to those girls and even the guys that are playing soccer over there. They've both been very successful with their programs, and I couldn't be happier for a bunch of kids.
You know, they co-op with Gordonsville. Gordonsville doesn't have enough players to field a team, so they co-op, put those together, and they've been very successful on the pitch. I've learned through the years. It's what they call it. Looks like a soccer field to me, but they call it pitch, so hey, we'll go with it. We'll take a look at the region scores and standings.
No more than we know about soccer.
Yeah, right? That's true. That is true. When we return here, the box score brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com. Near Star Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master maintenance technicians, maintenance trainer, electricians, miners, mill operators, mill technicians, warehouse attendant, business analyst, mine supervisor, and other amazing opportunities. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and much more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Near Star Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
Powell & Meadows Insurance, in business since 1894, provides knowledgeable and personal service to our clients. One call puts you in touch with a local agent who will help you shop from a variety of top companies. At Powell & Meadows Insurance Agency, we work for you. Call today or visit us online anytime.
We are here to help you. Let us show you what customer service is all about. Give us a call today.
And welcome back to the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team. And we're going to take a look at the Sonic scores as we look at Region 4 1A. Clay County, a big win over Grundy County, 41-21 in Friendship, in a game that they just put on early last week. Friendship, a big win over Red Bull, and that was on Thursday night, 49-0. But everything pointing to that Huff and Puff Trucking game of the week in Week 11, Gordonsville and Clay County, Murphy to decide that region championship.
It's going to be a dandy. Both of those teams have put a lot of points on the scoreboard this year, and obviously with Gordonsville just with the one loss, but I look for that game to be just as competitive and as exciting as it was last year. I went to see that game last year, and Clay County surprised me. They were a lot better football team than I thought they were. That program is kind of back to where it was in the late 80s and early 90s when Russell Richardson was coaching that team, and I know the folks up in Salina have got to be awfully proud.
Of course, former Smith County High School head coach Mike Dickerson, defense coordinator at Clay County.
Correct.
Let's look at the Region 4 2A standings, Sonic of Carthage standings and scores. We've got Charleston County, a big win over Whites Creek in Nashville, 40-6, and Westmoreland in a close one, 9-6. You know, Westmoreland's been losing those games a lot this year, and they got a big win, Murphy, and that just about locks them in the playoffs.
Well, I made the comment last week they were probably the best 1-6 team in the state, and they're starting to show that a little bit more here lately. And I think I'd hate to be the number 1 or number 2 seed on the corresponding region because they're going to face a much better football team than they expect.
Of course, Stroudsville County and Watertown on a collision course here at the end of the year determined that region championship.
You know, I hate to interrupt you, but it's amazing. Here we are with just 2 weeks left, how many regional championships are still up in the air, and we're waiting for head-to-head competition with the 2 best teams in the region in the last week of the season.
Region 4 3A, Sonic of Carthage scores. They haven't had one. Giles County over Sequatchie County, 56-0. Giles County sitting there at 3-0. They've still got Cannon County left. Murphy, I think they're by far the cream of the crop in this region.
Yeah, I think so too. They've always had a pretty good football team. Got a state championship to their credit when Bo Wallace was the quarterback. And at that time, I thought he was one of the best quarterbacks I'd ever seen at the high school level. Turns out he proved my point when he did so well at Ole Miss.
Definitely did. Region 5 3A standings. Of course, the only score we had was the Smith County-Jackson County, which was our Huff and Puff Trucking game of the week. And number 1 spot in week 11 going to be up for grabs when Smith County travels to East Nashville.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting game. East Nashville under the direction of a new head coach the last couple of years, and they've played some incredibly tough competition. They haven't shied away from anybody.
Well, they've got Riverdale this week.
I know. So they don't mind jumping up in classification, but they've just got so much athleticism and speed on that team. It's no wonder they're sitting where they are right now.
Region 4, 4A, looking at their standings and scores, Macon County in a dogfight, 21-19 in Crossville. They get the win. Macon County sitting there at 3-1, DeKalb 2-2, Stone Memorial 2-2, Upland at 4-0. That looks to be the 4 teams that are the favorite to go to the playoffs. Let's go ahead and look at some other scores from around the area. Coffee County over Cookeville. Cavaliers continue to struggle. Oneida, a big win over Monterey. Red Bank over Fayetteville. Portland in a big upset over Station Camp, Murph.
Boy, nobody saw that one coming, and I'm so happy for Panther fans and everybody associated with Portland football. They struggled quite a bit at 4A, and this year they move up to 5A, and I think they're probably going to be playoff bound. They've done very, very well.
Of course, Oakland kind of flexes their muscle in the Battle of Murfreesboro of 2 unbeaten teams. Oakland beats Riverdale 24-7. And then Rockville, Ricky Rice, a big win for him. Murphy getting it over Blackman 50-45 to kind of lock up, I think, the first ever playoff berth for Rockville.
It's only the 4th year of that high school. And he told me back in July that he expected to be able to knock off a couple of teams that nobody thought he would. One of those was Blackman, and the other one was Stewart's Creek 2 or 3 weeks ago. So he's got those kids playing really well right now.
All right, so let's look at the week preview. Of course, this is week 10 games. Clay County at York, Gordonsville at Red Boiling. Of course, Gordonsville, I'm sure, going to waltz in that one, Murphy. I know Coach Scott Clemens probably preaching to his team. We don't want to overlook them looking ahead to Clay County. But when you look at that, I think, the Clay County York might be a decent ball game, but I think Gordonsville wins big at Red Boiling.
I think Clay County having a tougher game this week will better prepare them for next week. Right. Gordonsville could have an inter-squad scrimmage and probably face a tougher group of kids than they're going to face against Red Boiling.
Let's look at the Region 4 2A games coming up. Watertown at Livingston, White House at Westmoreland, East Robertson at Forest. Of course, White House having a great year this year. Whites Creek at West Creek, and then Hickman County at Harpeth, and Trouser County the open date.
Next week, White House faces White House Heritage.
Right.
You talk about a crowded place on Friday night. That'll be a sellout for sure.
And then next week we've got the Watertown Trouser County game as well.
That's true. Some great games.
That'll be for that Region 4 2A championship.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and look at Region 4 3A. Cleveland at Giles County. That could be a pretty good ball game, Murph.
Made the comment, Cleveland gets a travel award next week.
Right.
Traveling all the way from almost to North Carolina to Pulaski. That'll be almost a 3-hour road trip.
Then Community at Hart County, Kentucky. Open date, Cannon County, Sequatchie, and Grundy. Let's go ahead and look at the Region 5 3A games. East Nashville, as we said, at Riverdale. Just a tough schedule. Smith County in a border war at Macon County. Of course, Daniel Cook, the principal at Macon County High School, a resident of the Pleasant Shade community. So that adds a little more spice and flavor. And you probably don't need any of that, Murphy, looking at these two teams.
Smith County and Macon County, those football games go back to the 40s and 50s. When I first moved to Smith County, I heard about games up in Lafayette and games in Carthage between those two. And a lot of those kids that are playing for those two teams now don't have any idea about that. But that rivalry does indeed go back about 50 or 60 years.
Davidson County's at Stratford, Jackson County going up to Crossville to play a much improved Cumberland County Jet squad.
Yeah, Cumberland County's done very well. If I'm not mistaken, that guy was an assistant coach at Monterey, actually from Fayetteville. Lincoln County grad, played football down there, and he's done a good job of not working miracles, but they're winning a few ball games, and that has not been the case in quite some time.
And being competitive. When you look at Cumberland County over the last few years, Murphy, a lot of one-sided ball games and a lot of fourth quarter mercy rule running clocks.
Absolutely. But it hasn't been that way lately, and I know the folks up there have got to be excited about that.
Region 4, 4A, Walker Valley at Upman. We saw Walker Valley play against Smith County. The Owls lost at Owl Stadium by 19-13 in 3 overtimes. And Smith County probably played their best game of the year. Murphy, that should be a great ball game.
I think so. Walker Valley, if I'm not mistaken, a playoff team at the 5A level, and but I still think Upperman wins the ball game.
Of course, that game in Baxter, and then our DTC Sports Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week is Good Pasture at DeKalb County, and Good Pasture has struggled this year. The Cougars just can't find continuity, and it doesn't seem like they have got the athletes that they've had in years past.
Now, the entire atmosphere around the football program there seems to have done a 180, and I know Coach Cotton, a new head football coach, who's been with that program, I think, under previous administrations, has got to be scratching his head. But like you said, they're just really struggling this year, having a hard time. It's kind of an odd makeup, too. Good Pasture and DeKalb, about as 180 degrees from each other as they can be. But it'll be an interesting measuring stick, I guess, for both of those teams.
In the final game in Region 4, 4A, Stone Memorial traveling east to exit 352 to battle against Kingston. It's a great setting there, kind of looking back over the smokestacks, and I'm sure that'll be a good ball game.
Kingston, a pretty good team this year, last year and this year. They've been much better than the previous year.
We'll have an interview with DeKalb County Head Coach Steve Trapp when we return to the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
The Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition encourages our teenagers to be the positive influence. Stand against the epidemic of opioid and stimulant usage by joining the Youth Coalition #TakeBackTeam. 6% of Smith County students reported misusing prescription drugs. The #TakeBackTeam challenges you to stand outside the stack. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
2 delicious options, 2 convenient locations. So make the entire family happy with just one stop to KFC Taco Bell. Located at 501 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville and 105 East Broad Street in Smithville, we've got you covered at KFC Taco Bell, no matter the food craving. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get in the car and kick that hunger to the curb with a quick visit to KFC Taco Bell. Located in Gordonsville and Smithville. Stop by today.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master maintenance technicians, maintenance trainer, electricians, miners, mill operators, mill technicians, warehouse attendant, business analysts, mine supervisor, and other amazing opportunities. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and much more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
And welcome back to the Box Score. We've got head coach Steve Trapp of the DeKalb County Tigers. He's always a good interview, Murph, and we're honored to have Coach Trapp talk to us.
Always glad to find out about DeKalb County football.
Head coach Steve Trapp of the DeKalb County Tigers, and coach, it seems like that as the season's gone along, your team continues to improve. I know you've had some injuries you've had to overcome, but it seems like your team is getting better, and I know that's got to please you.
Losing that first game of the year, it kind of cut us out of the bye week there a couple weeks ago. And, we still ended up playing that game against Warren County. We had the similar bye week, but we actually lost 3 senior guys that play a lot of football for us in that game and in that week of practice. So those guys were not available for us last week, and so that makes it tough. I know we're a 4A school, but we only got 38 guys in pads, and we only have 8 seniors, and when you got 3 seniors that contribute to your football team in a great, mighty way with a lot of experience, it's tough when you've got 3 of them out. But just really proud of the guys that we put in there and how they responded, and some of them have stuck and going to continue to play, but seems like we have followed that note the last couple of years of starting slow but then starting to play better football, and I definitely think that's the case. I know we lost last week, but it was one of the better football games that we played.
The one that you have coming up this week, or actually next week when you play Stone, I believe it is, that one looms as a very, very, very important ball game. The winner is in 3rd, the loser is in 4th, and I'm sure you would much rather face Chattanooga Central than East Hamilton in the first round of the playoffs.
Well, I mean, you know me, Murphy, you spoke to me for a lot of years, and, we're willing to go anywhere and play anybody. But, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, we want to win the football game. We understand what implications come on that as far as getting another spot up in the region standings, keeps you from playing the number 1 seed on the other side. But, fall where it may, we're in the playoffs again for, every year since 2011 and every year since 2008, except for 1 year, 2010. So just, that's something we talked to our guys about in January, that we want to keep painting those numbers on the side of the wall, and they don't want to be the team that allows us to stop doing that. But yeah, we'll travel. We'd rather play at home, but we didn't do our part in our region contest so far. So it'll be a big game, but ultimately we want to win it, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may.
Those teams that don't even have a clue where Smithville, Tennessee is, except that, it's near Center Hill Lake or whatever the case may be. But nonetheless, I think that probably works as an advantage to you all. Certainly they can look at Huddle on the internet, but for the most part, they're not reading about DeKalb County. They're not reading about Stone Memorial or Macon County on a regular basis like some of these other regions that are so much closer to each other geographically, don't you think?
Definitely, and I think our region this year has been very competitive. 1 through 5 at least. I know Livingston's having a down year, but Cumberland County has really improved. But we lost to Macon County by 3 points. We held them to 27 yards rushing, a wing T team. So I just feel like we kind of shot ourselves in the foot in that regard. And then we had a good month of football there where we won 4 or 5 in a row, and then an excellent, if you was a fan of high school football, it was an excellent game last week, and went down to the wire against Austin Upperman, and they just made a couple more plays than we did. So our region this year, as far as the 4 teams that'll be representing us out of the in the playoffs, I think it's quality football teams, and got a chance to do some really good stuff in the playoffs.
Coach, when you look at the Macon County game, that game, every time we get a score, it was back and forth, and I think Macon scored in the last minute of that football game to beat you, but it seems like that game could have went either way, and I know when you look at turnovers or penalties or, there's just a variety of things you can look at the end of the game and say, point to one factor or the other, but it seemed to be 2 very evenly matched football teams.
Well, I told our guys the other night, after the Upperman game, we're about 7 plays away from being undefeated in our region. Like I said, a wing T team that, only rushed for 27 yards, but we had a pick 6 in that game. We gave up a kick return in that game, and then they did a little pooch kick on kickoff, and we watched it lay on the ground and let them recover it. And then they hit a one-on-one play in the back of the end zone, and that was all within like a 7 or 8 play span. So it all happened really quickly. Again, if you was a fan, it was an excellent ball game because it went back and forth, and really about like our game last year where we come down the field and scored with 40 seconds left to go to take the lead. They kind of did the same thing on that last drive. We had them in 3rd and 19 and had a pass interference, and then they picked up the first down on the next play. So that's it, 4 or 5 plays in that ball game, 4 or 5 plays in the game last week. It could be a lot different situation as far as record, but it is what it is, and we are where we are. We just want to continue to play good football, and like I said, wherever we go, whoever we play, we're going to prepare, we're going to work, and we're going to be ready to do our jobs.
Coach, we see your stats every week on this show, and I hate to zero in on one particular player, but there's a young man named Isaac Knowles who's been a big part of your success this year, both at wide receiver and defensive back. What about his future in football? Is he being looked at by some college coaches to play at the next level?
Yeah, definitely. I've been talking about Isaac ever since he was a freshman. I remember, which I've known him. He's the same age as my son. I've known him ever since he was born, and I've coached against him in minor league and little league basketball, and seen him in junior pro and middle school. And he's been a starter in all three phases of the game ever since he stepped foot over here at DeKalb County High School. And I can remember freshman orientation in the spring of his 8th grade year coming over here, and he said, "I'm going to be a college football player." And I said, "I have no doubt that you will not." He already had how big he wanted to be and how fast and everything he wanted to accomplish as an 8th grader. And he's held true to form. And he's made plays in all phases. Our quarterback got hurt during warm-ups in the Cumberland County game. This is 10 minutes before kickoff, and just something freaky that happened. So we moved Isaac, the quarterback, for 2 weeks. And just did things a little differently. We ended up rushing for over 350 yards in those 2 weeks. He was a big part of that. He also threw 2 touchdown passes. So he's over 200 yards passing. And it's stuff that we're still using to this day. It worked so good, and it gave us a change of pace in our offense. But he's got 20 yards to catch as a receiver. He's over 9 yards to carry as a dual threat quarterback back there. He's over 20 yards of completion when he decides to throw it. I think he's got 6 or 7 picks with a pick 6 in there as well. He's returned a punt for a touchdown. He's had a strip fumble for a touchdown. So anything you can imagine that can be done on the football field, he has done it for us. And all the coaches that I've talked to over the last couple of years, that's how I've explained Isaac Knowles to him. So I really don't know why he has not got an offer yet. But he fits the measurables. He has the speed, but he has the production to back all that up as well. And he is a big part of what we do, and he's a big part of why we're having the success we're having as well.
I think Terry even made the comment he sold popcorn at halftime.
And he's that type. He's got 26, 27 on his ACT. He's got a 4.571 GPA. His mom's a principal. Every Saturday he wakes up at daylight and goes to work on the farm. And, he wants to get into agribusiness as well. Not only play college ball, but that's kind of his future goal as well. So, just an all-around good kid, good family. And, we're going to miss him when he's gone, but we sure have been glad to have him these last 4 years.
Coach, you look at your game last week, kind of the Battle of Center Hill, I think it's been dubbed, and kind of, you've developed a pretty good rivalry over the last 10 years with Upperman, and, the things that Adam Kane have done with the Bees, really going from more of a spread team when Ben Herron was there, now to a very physical football team, after you came up here from Sequatchie County. And I think Coach Kane's to be commended in really kind of putting a toughness in that team. Not that they weren't tough before, but it seems like he's taken them to another level.
Yeah, I've coached against Coach Kane ever since 2015, and in 2015 is the only time I've ever beat him. And we've had some really close physical contests and battles, and he speaks highly of how we do things here, and no doubt we speak highly of how he does things at his place, because people ask me about Coach Kane, and he's a great coach. He's got a disciplined football team. It's no secret what they're going to hang their hat on. Great defense, eat that clock with a powerful run game. And this year they branched out a little bit more with some spread sets and trying to throw the football. Really, they beat us last week with how they threw the football. So it was another epic battle. Again, they scored right there with under 40 seconds to go to make it a 10-point game. But I think there was 5 or 6 lead changes in the game, and just everybody that watched the game was like, man, that was such a physical high school football game. And again, it come down to the wire, and like I said a moment ago, it's 3 or 4 plays different. Go different in that game. It could have been a different outcome, but just hats off to them. They've been there all year, been playing good football, and we just needed a little bit more.
Coach, last year when you won the region championship, there was a couple of those games that were close that fell your way.
Yep.
But it tells me that the competitiveness in your region that's going to speak highly of you going into the playoffs.
Exactly. And there's been teams that's been 3 or 4 seeds that's come out of competitive regions that's made noise in the playoffs, and that's what we want to do. But like I said, we take it one day at a time. The old coaching cliche, one game at a time, and we want to take care of business this week if at all possible, and then focus on that last region game next week, and like I said, get ready for hopefully a good competitive postseason run.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you and the Tigers. You've got Good Pasture this week. Of course, that's our Huff and Puff Trucking game of the week. And then the next week against Stone Memorial to finish this thing up right and get rolling in the playoffs.
Well, that's what we're wanting to do, and I appreciate you guys letting me come on and talk a little bit about our program.
Thank you, Coach Trapp. We'll take a look at this week's upcoming games, including the Huff and Puff Trucking game of the week on DTC Sports, which just happens to be DeKalb County and Good Pasture. Plus, we'll get Murphy's matchups when we return to the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com.
2 delicious options, 2 convenient locations. So make the entire family happy with just one stop to KFC Taco Bell. Located at 501 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville and 105 East Broad Street in Smithville, we've got you covered at KFC Taco Bell, no matter the food craving. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get in the car and kick that hunger to the curb with a quick visit to KFC Taco Bell, located in Gordonsville and Smithville. Stop by today.
So, go check it out.
Deterring crime. It's the first job of a home security system from DTC Security.
For just $49.99, get a system with a touch keypad, 3 window or door sensors, motion detector, key fob, and standard installation.
Let us help protect your home.
So?
A lot of nice stuff and an alarm.
Don't delay. Call DTC Security now or visit us online.
Powell & Metals Insurance, in business since 1894, provides knowledgeable and personal service to our clients. One call puts you in touch with a local agent who will help you shop from a variety of top companies. At Powell & Metals Insurance Agency, we work for you. Call today or visit us online anytime.
We are here to help you. Let us show you what customer service is all about. Give us a call today.
The Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition encourages our teenagers to be the positive influence. Stand against the epidemic of opioid and stimulant usage by joining the Youth Coalition #TakeBackTeam. 6% of Smith County students reported misusing prescription drugs. The #TakeBackTeam challenges you to stand outside the stack. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
And welcome back to the final segment of the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team. Murphy Fair along with Terry Collins. And Murphy, you got to get that turbine out. We're going to call on you to predict these games here in a minute. We haven't kept up with your record, but that may be something we do in the future.
I have a radio show to that regard. I didn't know that was going to come up. But last week there were 31 games in the mid-state, and I missed one.
Well, that's
had a
pretty
good week last week.
Pretty good. We'll let Janie start monitoring that. I'm sure that she would, with eagerness, would.
I'll probably miss all of these after announcing that.
Let's go ahead and tell you about our Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week on DTC Sports. Good Pasture at DeKalb County. The Cougars making the probably 50, 60-mile trip over to DeKalb County. Of course, Good Pasture over on I-65. In fact, their bleachers back up to I-65.
They do. Ought to be a great atmosphere. It'll be senior night in Smithville. A lot of kids like Isaac Knowles and all the other seniors on that squad. It'll be their last regular season home game. Who knows, they get deep enough in the playoffs, they may have another game, but right now it looks like that might be their last game in Smithville as a Tiger football player.
I think Coach Trapp told us earlier he had 8 seniors. Of course, 3 of those had gotten hurt there in practice in one of the games earlier this year. Let's go ahead and look at the series history on the second meeting between these two squads. DeKalb County in Lafayette, ironically, where Smith County is going to be playing in the Industrial Bowl when bowls used to be big back in 1979. DeKalb won that game 7-6. Wow. Coach Trapp in his 17th season for DeKalb County. Coach Greg Cotton in his first season, I think he was an assistant there for the Cougars. They have struggled thus far. Of course, they lost to CPA in Division II AA semifinals last year. DeKalb County last year won the region. So you can see Coach Trapp, especially over the last 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, has built that program for DeKalb where they're competing for a region championship each year.
Somebody really did their homework, Justin.
Yeah.
I had no idea that Good Pasture in DeKalb County had ever played before, but in its day, the Industrial Bowl was a pretty big deal up there in Lafayette.
It definitely does. Now Murph's going to do some picks for us. Let's go ahead. Gordonsville at Red Bull, and Murphy, you're going on the limb and
going out on that
picking
limb big time.
Bulldogs?
Yes, sir. No, no. We'll be going with the Gordonsville Tigers all the way in that one.
Watertown going to a struggling Livingston.
Yeah, Livingston's really had a hard time this year. New head coach, a whole new batch of assistant coaches, and not many seniors, as I understand it, on the football team. We'll have to go with Watertown.
Smith County at Macon County. It should be a big one. Matt Dyer's dad, Pat Dyer, coached at Macon County, and also Matt was a former assistant for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's true, and I know that'll be a very emotional game for him. And it would be an emotional game for me. That was my son's last game as a Smith County Owl on a 52-yard field goal by Macon County. And I'm going to have to go with Smith County, though. They need to get that win to build some momentum for the playoffs.
And then Good Pasture at DeKalb in their Huff and Puff Trucking game of the week.
Yeah, and I think DeKalb will win that one rather comfortably, 2 or 3 touchdowns, I think, but they can't take Good Pasture for granted. They've got a couple of players on that team that could make a difference, but I think DeKalb will come away with a win on senior night.
All right, around the area, looking some picks. Monterey at Bledsoe.
Oh, that'll be a good one. Bledsoe down a little bit this year. I'll have to go with Monterey in that one, though.
All right, Knoxville West at Maryville. That's a big game. Of course, everybody thinks automatically Maryville will win that game, but I think Knoxville West a formidable foe, Murph.
Very, very much so. A 5A school that's probably going to win its region and has a chance to go fairly deep in the playoffs, but they're playing at Maryville, and Rebels don't lose often, and especially when it's on their own turf.
That's for sure. And 2 teams that are supreme in their division, Murphy, and that's CPA at Lipscomb battling. Both only loss, I think, coming to Oakland, and both battled Oakland and actually led in the 4th quarter, I believe, of each of those ball games.
For folks watching this show on Thursday night, that's when I plan on going to Lipscomb to park my truck, because there's not many places to park, but it ought to be a dandy. Each of those teams, I should say, has but 1 loss, and both lost to Oakland.
Gallatin, Chad Watson, former Gordonsville player. Green Wave have struggled this year. They head to Chuck Gentry and the Lebanon Blue Devils.
Ought to be a good one. That's been a rivalry that's one of the oldest in the mid-state, but I'm going to have to go with Lebanon's Blue Devils. Chuck has done an incredible job with a very young football team this year.
Lewis County, the boys from Hohenwald going to Summertown.
You know, the reason I put that one up there is because Dakota Cruz is the head coach at Summertown, and he was a Mr. Football winner when he played at Lewis County. So he'll be facing his former head coach, Bobby Sharp. I think Lewis County's got a little more depth, though, and should win that game.
Peabody and Huntington in West Tennessee should be a good one.
Peabody, the 3-time defending 2A state champion, playing at Huntington, the team that knows all about running deep runs in the playoffs, but I've got to go with Peabody as they drop to 1A this year.
We want to thank everybody for watching the box score. For Terry Collins, for Janie, for Nick, for Justin, and Murphy Fair. Good night, and playoff time right around the corner.